exactly 8 after the hour 6 on the Mighty Metro FM. This is Sports That Amplified with Andile. And it's Podcast Friday on the Mighty Metro FM. Malcolm, don't miss it. Let's do it again. It's Podcast Friday. The guys are here. Mkonza's here. Nadim is here. Mark is here. We're going to be talking about all things that happened during the week in football that we're going to be discussing and putting a spotlight on, particularly what happened at Kaizer Chiefs this past week. You know, Itumeleng Khune, obviously not playing at the moment, taken off the roster, asked to go home. He did come to work under the influence. Comments he made about Peterson, and also the divisions that apparently have been sown at Kaizer Chiefs. The guys have a different perspective on it, and I can't wait to get to it. But that's not all. That's not all. Siad Ramovic seems to feel that Rulane Mokwena is full of excuses. He seems to feel he's got Rulane's number. He knows how to beat Rulane. And the excuses is what he's not happy with. So we'll get into that one as well. And then the big one, with an interview with Rob Moore. Rob Moore works with Mark here, actually, on the show. And we had him on the show to speak about Njabulo Blom, the situation with Hugo Broos and Njabulo Blom. So we'll touch on that as well and what transpired and came out of that. As well as Gavin Hunt. Gavin Hunt saying that SuperSport United are not on an equal footing with Sundowns. They've got a selling policy, number one, to which they sell to Sundowns mostly, and also they don't pay the same. So Sundowns should actually be beating SuperSport by 8-0. We'll get into that and so much more when we look at the weekend's games and we give you thoughts on who we think is going to be doing well this weekend. And Nadim, you got your thing wrong last weekend. I think you said Swallows would be beating Kaizer Chiefs. Yeah. So you got that wrong. He said that, yeah? Yeah,
I'm shy.
You said, yeah, so Nadim was wrong. You were right. And which game did you look at again, Mark?
He said, yeah, he was right. He said Cape Town's City will win and they won.
And Cape Town City, we got to give him a round of applause. Nadim mentioned it at the beginning of the season to say Cape Town City would do well. I mean, they have done well. It's 10 after the hour 6. When we come back, the guys start the conversations. You enter the conversations at 18:50 on a Friday on 086 0002160 060 552 7303 as far as WhatsApp is concerned. What is the state of South African football right now? Well, it's about to begin in discussion. It's 12 after the hour 6 on a Friday. Time really goes quick on a Friday, so we'll get straight into it. Mkonza's with us as per usual. Spear Mkonza is a former Kaizer Chiefs and Bafana captain, and currently
Nandi Sports CEO.
There we go.
How many people are there?
CEO.
Let me
CEO lo muntu Nadim unokhuluma kanjani?
Ngikatela ukhonjwa jiyale sengibuyile manje ngenze zami.
There we go. And of course we've also got with us Nadim Lukele is a former SABC researcher and statistician, and also just a lover of the beautiful game. Nadim, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Andile. Thanks for reminding me that I got it wrong last week.
You're welcome. Let me take a deep breath before I say this one. He's a former Jammu Cosmos Midwest and Moroka Swallows midfielder, and the holder of biggest potteries in the DSTV Premiership history. I saw it. You and Tuso did your thing.
Big debate. But I think we're going to settle it proper next week. I think we'll be together, playing together. So we'll both be wearing shorts, so the public will decide.
Who's got the bigger potteries? The voice there that you've just heard is that of Mark Haskins. Yeah, I think next week we'll let them know. Next week we're going to be playing. So we're not just going to be talking about it. 13 after the hour 6. Guys, there's a lot to talk about, so let's go straight into it. The first thing that I want us to touch on is Hugo Broos. Hugo Broos complaining about Blom's attitude and obviously his agency and his agent, Rob Moore, feeling that there could be a situation where the coach might not like Blom. I spoke to both of them. But firstly, let's start with Hugo Broos. This is him speaking about the attitude of Blom.
So if Njabulo Blom sends us a message on Monday that he will not come to the camp because he's injured on his shoulder, I think it's very normal that we ask a medical report. So we asked it. 2 days later, without sending a medical report, Njabulo Blom did us a message saying that he's ready to play. It's not the first time. So this is not the right attitude, I find.
Rob Moore came onto the show and he had this to say in defense of Njabulo Blom.
It's not. It's got nothing to do with anything to do with Blom. The second one was a coach's decision that I don't want to put this player in the final roster. So my question is, and I don't want to put him in the final roster for A, B, and C reasons. Well, A, B, and C reasons existed prior to you naming the preliminary roster. So why did you name him in the preliminary roster? What that tells me is that possibly has a problem with this player or just doesn't like him.
Mark, your take on this?
Yeah, I think it's been a very unfortunate situation, and I can speak, around the whole situation with Njabulo, especially with the injury. It's not that he didn't have a medical or whatever the case may be. He literally had an exit physical that indicated that he had a sore shoulder, and so it's just been misconstrued. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, they say attitude, has an attitude problem with all that kind of thing. I actually am a big fan of Njabulo's attitude. I think more South African players should have his attitude. Njabulo's not a yes man. I can tell you that. And you can go back to his days at Chiefs. He's not a yes man. He wants to understand every situation he's in. So when he gets told to do something, he'll ask why. Because he wants to understand. He's not a yes man. He's not just going to run at the drop of a hat. And I appreciate that about him. I love that about him. And I can tell you, he challenges me. He's like Rob Moore, someone like Rob Moore. When Rob says something, he wants to know why. He's not a yes man. And
I just wanted to finish his thought.
That's a big thing that I think a lot of South African players need to understand. You must be able to stand up for yourself, because any decision you make or any decision that's taken about you, it affects you. And if you don't understand decisions taken, so when a contract is placed in front of him, he's going to ask why. And that's happened with him. He said, no, I don't know about this. I won't sign it. I want to understand it. He asks and he challenges authority, and maybe that's a problem. And I think in South African football, players who challenge authority, and not challenge in a bad way necessarily, but it's for your own understanding. You always be branded a bad boy, or you branded that you have an attitude because you don't just do what you're told without understanding. A lot of players do that. And that's why I say a lot of players need to be more like Njabulo, because I want players to start challenging and understanding when they put themselves in certain situations. You have to understand, because ultimately the ramifications of that will affect you severely. And he asks why. That's the problem people have with him.
I wanted to Mark to unpack a relationship with Bruce no Blom, because from what he's saying, yes, I understand Njabulo can stand for himself, but also it's like, man, you got to question Bruce wenzani, because Bruce wanted a medical report.
Now, let me just say this to you, Mkonza. Yeah. Why isn't Njabulo being called directly?
What do you mean?
There are times when a player gets called to the national team, what's the protocol?
Team manager talks to the players directly.
So you call the player and say, when are you coming to camp? You don't send a letter.
They send
a document to say Andile is called.
No, they send a document to the club. They speak to the player to say, hey, when was your last game? The team manager would ask them, when was your last
getting
game?
dropped from this team was direct communication with Njabulo. No communication necessarily with the club initially.
Initially.
Okay.
Yep.
So your initial contact is with the player. You're not contacting the club and saying, we're calling up this player. Can he report for duty? Then already that whole medical thing will be ruled out, because then the club would have told you there already. But the mix-up came when the player gets contacted first and directly. The player just finished a game. He's hurt his shoulder. The medical shows it. Whoever was spoken to at St. Louis maybe didn't know about it, but then they spoke to the wrong person. But the exit physical, because the season is over, when the season is done, there's an exit physical, because the way you leave is the way you must come back. That's why they do an exit physical. It shows he was treated for a sore shoulder. He played the day before. He hurt his shoulder. When he gets contacted, he says, manager, I hurt my shoulder. I'm not sure if I'll be able to play, because at the time it's painful. And that's where the confusion comes in. Why is the player being contacted directly without the club being contacted?
We're going to move on from this one. Njabulo Blom there. We do hope that they still, hope for him to play in the national team. But, from the way things are right now, one wonders if there is a sort of future for Njabulo Blom in the national team.
What I'll say about it, I don't think there's future for him in the national team as long as the coach is there. Because I remember when you talked to Njabulo, that was like a 30 minutes interview 2 months ago, where he said why was the coach said he's not been playing for his team after having played like 5 consecutive matches. I mean, this season alone he played 26 matches for St. Louis. I don't think the coach likes him. All these kind of things. The coach must just not. It's difficult to be a national team coach because you have to justify each and every selection. He can just say, okay, Njabulo is not part of my plan. I'm busy preparing for AFCON. Bafana qualified for AFCON. That's the bigger picture. Njabulo Blom, I don't think is going to be part of this team at this stage because the coach doesn't.
My thing is though, if he didn't like him, he just wouldn't call him.
Yeah, but he said he was not playing while he was playing.
But
remember, it doesn't rate.
Now I hear that, and I don't disagree with that. All I'm saying is, if the coach, because the powers of calling up remain and lie with the coach. Yeah. Even when the country was crying foul at Andile, for instance, the coach stood his ground and said, no, I'm not going to call Andile because the buck stops with him. If he doesn't like Njabulo Blom, why would he even bother calling him up?
I think the player, the information being and the way it's being relayed to the coach, that's the problem.
But
purely, so if
we can agree that he does not like him.
I don't think there's that issue. I honestly don't think there's that issue. But I believe as a coach, I'm a coach. If you send me a message and say my shoulder's sore, and then next thing, no, I'm okay to play. Even me as a coach, I'm gonna be like, this guy's not serious. Yeah. But the way that message is relayed, because that is not the sequence of events, but what information the coach is getting. That's the story that we need to delve into.
Very true.
It's turning after the R6 when we come back. Kaizer Chiefs, what's happening at Naturena? The guys have a different perspective that, when they spoke to me about it, I thought, maybe we're all looking at it wrong. It's Podcast Friday on the Mighty Metro FM. This is Sports Side Amplified with Andile. I am Andile Ncube. Let's get straight into it. Siya Dramovic, coach at TS Galaxy, slams Rulani Mokoena for making excuses. This is Siya Dramovic on Rulani Mokwena's excuses.
When we won against Sundowns, what was the excuses from the opponent? He didn't play with 7 players, right? So how is this the respect for the players that played? National players, Andile, or like that you bought for 60 million? Allende, sorry. And then you bought the guy from Stellenbosch. How much they paid? 12 million. So and then you have Zungu. Then you have a lot of other national players.
He also goes on to speak about the disrespect.
And you come up with an excuse to disrespect my staff, my players, myself. I think that this is a good, very strong coach will not find an excuse. He will say, fantastic job from Galaxy. They did a fantastic game plan. They beat us, and we show respect. What they did, try to find excuses because he did not play for 7 players. But he also, I think, disrespect their own team, their own players.
Siya Dramovic, he never holds his tongue back. We know that about him, Nadim.
Yeah, I agree with Roland. When Sundowns played TS Galaxy, we were missing a lot of players, including the internationals like Shaulile. So, of course, one player can make a huge gap in a team. Just like Man City when they lost Rodri. They lost to Arsenal, Newcastle, and as well as Wolves. So, missing like 8-10 players. Roland is right. If those players were there, I don't think Roland was going to lose to TX Galaxy. So I feel that the coach, as much as he is not happy with that, but it's a fact.
But Nadim, if my memory bank serves me well, last season, TS Galaxy first round, they beat Sundowns, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but Roland was not a senior coach then. Roland didn't beat Roland alone. It was still Mangoba Mngiti, and he has not beaten. Remember, the only guy who had beaten Roland, it's the Stellenbosch coach. That's the only one in 90 minutes. The rest, Pirates penalties after 2 hours without a shot on goal. It's been difficult beating the guy. Sid Ramovic has never beaten Roland. And Roland is telling the truth that if all his Bafana players, Williams, Kekana, and Zwane, all the kind of guys were there, it was going to be a different scoreline.
But the coach is complaining about disrespect. Do you agree that it's disrespectful?
I'm not sure where is disrespect there, because if I say we're not going to lose with my full strength team, where's disrespect there?
I think it's disrespecting saying, why don't you just congratulate me?
No, I don't want to. I'm saying I was not going to lose with my team, full strength team. So, it's football, it's competitive, it's professional sport. So, there's no time for actually not speaking what you feel is right. Roland is right. Pizzo was going to say the same thing. Even European coaches, they say that. So I don't think Roland is done anything wrong to them.
Kwanzaa?
I think for me, if those 7 players were there, it would have made a difference for Sundowns because they're international.
But does it matter, guys?
Yeah, it does. It does. That's your
I beat you.
That's
you
your
congratulate me. Isn't that sportsmanship?
Yes, it is, Andile. But let's go back to the players that started that match. Lama player allowed, do they get regular game time? Definitely no.
Yes.
And that probably some of them it was the first game they playing. But again, I'll give credit to TS Galaxy because most of TS Galaxy players, some of them they are from NFT. Some of them it comes from a good policy of scouting the players. So I'll give it. So it's a twofold situation. But I don't really think that Urulane can use this as an excuse. But again, for me, I think Ushet has done a very good job when it comes to TS Galaxy because some of the players are unknown as well. The team Sundowns could win a league, Andile. Let's start that day. It could win a league if it's given more game time because some of the players in Shilongat, first game,
Mark?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think if you look at the lineup, and that's what Coach Said is saying, there's some superstars, if you want to call it that. I mean, Allende, he speaks about the money they paid for a player of his caliber who played on the day. There was quality on the park, and so Sundowns have the type of squad that I think they're so deep that they're probably 3 squads deep that can, like Mkonza says, win the league or compete in any competition. So I don't think it is an excuse. At the end of the day, you're playing a season, and I think they're playing 60-plus games if they go all the way in every single competition. So again, the squad that you have should be able to compete regardless of when you're playing. They are good enough.
We're going to move on from that one there. You can make your own mind up as to what you feel there. And let's move on to Kaizer Chiefs now. Kaizer Chiefs were largely in the news over the last weekend, and it continued this week as well. It started off with Itumeleng Khune, of course, when the news broke on Wednesday it was, to say that he will not be partaking in the game against Swallows as he came to training under the influence. Mm-hmm. And he was suspended, told to go home, and then, there'd be a review and would find out what happens thereafter. Mm-hmm. But there was another thing where Itumeleng Khune had said something about Brandon Peterson and the sort of mental assistance that's available at Kaizer Chiefs for him to use, which had a lot of people alluding that he might be having some issues, and then over and above that, okay, let's break it into two. So let's leave that be first, right? Yeah. And have a conversation about that. What do you think of Itumeleng Khune, the alcohol? Because however you feel about Itu as a goalkeeper, as a professional, I'd like to think Itu's been an outstanding professional.
Yes.
This is over 20 years.
21 years, yeah.
21 years of him as a keeper at Kaizer Chiefs. Yeah. He's been a professional. Yeah, mind you, there was people there, but we know he drinks because there was a time when he waved his card to Shipi, that was in his own time. It never spilled on to the club, training, the club, and what we're seeing. So what do you make of what's... And then also, speaking out of part about another player, this is a person who's probably done more interviews at Kaizer Chiefs than any other. Yeah. Never put a foot wrong. What's going on?
Andile, I love how you profile him because for me, Ukune in the 21 years that he has spent at Kaizer Chiefs, he's been a good ambassador for Kaizer Chiefs. That's number one. I mean, he's a club captain. Yes, if the allegations of the alcohol, then they are there. Unfortunately, we need to pay for your sins because he's a big player in Kaizer Chiefs. You're a big ambassador. The young ones are learning from you. I mean, how can Umtanzane get to Kaizer Chiefs? The club policy goes one. So when I'm Ukune, you need to lead by example. And for me, I've been with Khune, I've played with Khune at Kaizer Chiefs. I've never had stories or any issues as a negative no Khune. He's been a good ambassador. I'm disappointed if the story it can be true. Then the second story, Andile, I can tell you right now, when the club is struggling...
so the story is true because he was breathalyzed. Yeah. So... Yes, he came to work
then he has to pay for his sins. There's no excuse. You can't falter because it happened in a policy. When there's a policy in a club, there's no way why jump out him. Go follow whether good to we star player or Messi or one, but fana punish out him. Fana feliz onozako.
And my question is possibly beyond us here, Mark. But then there's an issue that is deeper. If a person of over 20 years. And now we have issues such as this. Surely there's something deeper there.
Yeah, for me, I think this is, if anything like this had come up with Khune, it should have been done in his youth, not now as a senior player, especially with what the club is going through currently. I mean, the club is in, I don't want to say in turmoil, but in terms of getting results and establishing...
They're having challenges right now.
Keeping itself on that level where they are the biggest club in the country. They are, they're struggling in that regard. And so... the club captain, the marquee player of the club, he can't be making these kind of mistakes. And again, it's really sad that it's happened this late in his career when he should be the leader, galvanizing the team, like raising everyone up and saying, hey, this is a big brand, because he more than anyone knows what that brand stands for. And he should be the leader in terms of re-establishing the brand and getting them back to where they need to be. And so this is really sad, but it is, it's a downward spiral, unfortunately. When you look at how things are going, especially for him, him contradicting the club, even when in terms of the length of
retirement,
and all that kind of thing. So it's a really topsy-turvy relationship at the moment.
Nadim?
Yeah, it's sad. I loved Itumeleng Khune. I've known him from when he was young, growing up with Kesenzo Meiwa. Before he even played for Bafana Bafana. When he went to Bafana Bafana, he became the captain. Was a new fire. All the players from other teams, they like him. I mean, I remember Ramatlam Patlale, when he was a Sundowns captain, he used to get along with Khune. So many, he's that kind of a guy. So this story is really, I wish it didn't happen, because it's one of those players you don't want him to exit Kaizer Chiefs like this with alcohol. I can say his performance on the field has not been good, but this, I wish it was not true, but it is what it is. I really feel sorry for him, because he has done so much. He doesn't deserve this. Even with interviews, he respects all the journalists. He respects everyone. He's that kind of a guy. I mean, people think we hate him when we say he should not be at Kaizer Chiefs.
But
we just look at his statistics. This year, 2023, 1 win in 8 games that he has played. I mean, we feel he's not supposed to be there. Peter's in the States are better. Even Bavuma, I mean, he saw Chiefs got a win. So we feel
we're separating
it has
player
nothing
from
to
the
do
man.
with hating him, but he's drinking alcohol. Anyways, I just don't like alcohol anyway.
Please switch his mic off. But staying with Kaizer Chiefs, the thing that alarmed me most, because this is a culture thing, right? Kevin Johnson came out and spoke about it. Is a story that came up about the segregation between colored players and black players. We've got 2 people that have been in dressing rooms that have been, Konza, you've been in the very same dressing room at Kaizer Chiefs. Mark, you've played for many teams in the DSTV Premiership and understand the culture of the DSTV Premiership, but also the culture of South Africa as well as a colored man. So let's hear firstly what Kevin Johnson had to say about, the reported, I don't know it, so I'm going to say reported segregation of players at Chiefs.
I think there's a lot of people that look to take this big brand to a lower level, because in reality, there's no brand that's as strong as this brand. So whatever you can find, whatever you can do to try and discredit them is always in the papers. And I think it's not only now, it's been for a good few years. You know what I'm saying? And myself, being born in a country where it was black and white, I know how to handle those things.
Mark?
Yeah, I think, again, I ask anyone to tell me if there's a single team in the league where there isn't, I wouldn't say segregation, but you get your clicks. And it's more a case of people you fay with, that you language is a barrier as well.
Same culture, same background.
Culture, same background. So for me, every club I played for, pretty much, the colored guys weren't necessarily separate from everyone. But, even in dressing rooms, at the training ground, you get different dressing rooms. You'll find the colored guys are mostly in one dressing room, and accordingly, but it's not to say that the team is segregated. And I think maybe Kevin is saying people are fishing for stories. The only problem is when those different, I guess, cultures, different races have an issue with one another, then you've got a problem. But we've been in dressing rooms where I speak Afrikaans. I don't speak Vernac, unfortunately. I hear here and there, but I don't speak. So some of the guys don't speak great English or Afrikaans at all. Yeah. So, I mean, what are our conversations going to be like? Do you understand? So those are the dynamics that are in the dress. It doesn't mean I have an issue with any of my teammates. I just will be drawn to the guys that I have an understanding with. And those are normal things. But it will always, like Kevin says, it's a big brand and people are looking to tarnish it in any way they can.
You've been in the Kaizer Chiefs, not just dressing room, but you've been a part of that brand. Because now the talk is that management somehow favors the colored players. Surely not possible. This is a team that has had white players, colored players for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I think for me, now, to be quite honest, I'm not crediting Chiefs, but I know that the most professional side, I mean, they leave no stone unturned. Let me just take you back. Tina, the reason that time it was not seen as, because players, Andile, they feel comfortable clinging with the people that they can be vulnerable in front of. I mean, if I spend more time on Nadim, Marcus spend more time with you, as long as we when we come together, we're fighting for the same result, then it's not going to be a problem. The reason, Andile, it comes across as is a problem, because Chiefs have been struggling for result, and that is why it has plugged this tension. So all these dynamics, they come out now with, maybe probably the issue is Color players, they group themselves there. Black players, they group themselves there. But I can assure you right now, the reason Tina during our time it was not seen because there were results. So there was
during your time.
Tina at that time it was Rowan, it was Sean Bartlett, it was Fabian McCarthy, it was goalkeeper Emil Baron.
Yeah.
Did they group together?
Yes. They group together, but that doesn't mean when they group together during the club's events. When it's training, when it's work, we are together. But when it's after game, they do their things on their own. When they they go to Nando's. Bye Nando's.
Uzokhuluma noRowan wena Maravel. Okay, I mean, I hear you, Nadima. I'm not even going to come with you on this one because I think this needed people that you and I both see it from the outside. So let's move on from that at Kaizer Chiefs here. And I say this often, and I know the people in Natura and I don't hear it when we do. And I'll say it again. Everybody I know, whether you're a supporter or a fan of Kaizer Chiefs or not, we all agree on one thing. A winning Kaizer Chiefs is good for football in this country. And with that being said, a big congratulations, of course, to the marketing manager, Jessica Mutaung, who's been appointed the first VP and on the board she's doing CAF business now. It's big things that go on. So big congratulations to Jessica Mutaung. Let's move on. The last story before we pick the weekend's picks. Gavin Hunt slams SuperSport United for their selling policy after losing to Sundowns.
We got players earning single-figure digits there out there tonight. Under 18s, I got 9 under 18s on the bench. We can't be judged. Last year we came third the first time since I left the club, top 4 with what we had. But then we lost players. We lost Patrick to Pirates, we lost TT to Chiefs. What can I do? We come third, we should strengthen, we get weaker. So how good am I then? Because they buy the players, Sundowns buy the players. So what do you want me to do? What can I do? The club's a different club from when I was here first time. When we won the league, it was more equal footing. But then obviously Sundowns bought all those players as well. Dennis Oyanga, Belembes, they all went. So then we had to build another team. You guys judge us on if we lose a game and then you judge us. They should beat us 8-0.
Less slams them for their selling policy, but rather I think he highlights it to say this is who we are versus this is who they are. Sundowns buy all our best players. They should be beating us 8-0. Mark?
Yeah, again, I think after the game, I listened to the post-match interview, and Gavin actually felt that they should have won it. He felt that they had enough chances to win the game. So that's, two very different conversations. But yes, I think where SuperSport are now, they are a very different club to when he was there. You have to admit that. You can see that I don't think possibly financially they're probably not as strong as they were when Gavin was competing for titles. And when you have to rebuild your team every year, when you're losing your best players every year, it is going to be difficult. But at the end of the day, he's not the only one. When you look around the league, players move around quite a bit or whatever the case may be, and nobody is as strong as Sundowns. So, are we at the end of the day fighting for second? Who's putting pressure on SuperSport to beat Sundowns? That's my question.
I'm more worried about if I'm a SuperSport player right now and I'm hearing my coach telling me that these guys should be beating us 8-0, we're nowhere near their level. As a player who sits in the dressing room and is coached by you.
And Andile, for me, I feel Guti, I don't know how many years Gavin has been coaching, over 20 years. This has been his statement all the time when he plays Sundowns. That, Sundowns got a budget to buy players. But in Police SuperSport, I've been at SuperSport. Police SuperSport, they are a selling club. And Police SuperSport, they develop young, great players. And I still believe that, Gavin Hunt, he's playing monkey tricks. Because for me, in post-match interviews, he says, first half, the score should have been 2-0. Sundowns, but ultimately, second half, Masai came, second chance match, you shy Sundowns. Ngali squad, the squad was stronger. But I believe that for me, when he joined SuperSport, he knew the policy, and I've been with him at SuperSport. The policy SuperSport has always been like this. The most professional team in the league, they pay well, SuperSport. Until let me just explain. Yes, they are selling club, but I'm a player SuperSport, I was struggling out here.
Nadim?
I disagree with him, Konza, because Gavin Hunt said it many times that their players are not earning what they are earning at Sundowns. No, but now, he's telling the truth, he's not lying. When he talks about the salaries, you can't tell me that there's a player who earns more than Ronan Williams at SuperSport United or Mkwena or Grenke. No, but look, I've got players that have joined Sundowns. Masego, Williams, Mbule, Mkwena, Modiba. It's just... You can't even say it's one rival now because it looks like SuperSport is a development of Mamelodi Sundowns. I knew that Masego I didn't even say Chapelo Maseko will be sold to Sundowns. I even asked you, Andy, when will he be promoted to Sundowns? I expected him to join Sundowns.
When will he be promoted?
Exactly. Oh, I mean, Mkwena, Modiba, all the Bafana players, it's like SuperSport are no longer competing. Before, SuperSport used to keep players. I mean,
so who's
are
next?
they reminding you of Ajax a little bit?
Of course, they've turned into an Ajax, but now the strange thing, they're not selling to Kaizer Chiefs or Orlando Pirates. One team. It's just this direct sale. I don't even like that kind of selling between SuperSport and Sundowns, because SuperSport, they are very good with development. They are, even now, there are lots of players that are coming. You know that whoever's going to shine this season is going to go to Sundowns. And most of their players, the backbone of the team now with SuperSport United, it's Sundowns players. Their goalkeeper of the season, Williams, was the player of the season, Mkwena was a Sundowns player. I mean, SuperSport player. It looks like all their best players, Stanley Matthews, will definitely sell them to Sundowns.
All right, here we go. Call Metro FM now on 0860 002160. Drop us a voice note on 060 552 7303. Waking up, I'm too turned up.
Good evening, Andile. Good evening to Nadim, Konza, and Mark. I think the issue of Njabulo Blom, I don't think there is a problem with Hugo not liking him. Maybe people around Hugo Bros didn't communicate well. But other things, you know what, if Njabulo was really injured, he just send a medical report and then get it done with. And then Kaizer Chiefs, I don't think this is a new issue. I just think that the Chiefs are looking for a reason to get rid of the man. Cardoso have said it before that there's a drinking problem at the club. Castro have said it before that there's a problem drinking. So I think it's just a reason to say that, you know what, maybe it's about time we cut ties with the player, because I think many players have been saying it, and I think it's been going on for years, but now I think the team is trying to clean up the team and then start over. But I don't think this is a new thing. I think this has been going on for years. Good evening.
Thank you.
Ik zeg maar o le para. But bona guys bona Galaxy coach man, I don't know what's wrong with him, but maybe he wanted to trend, but and he's trending. Remember the first thing after the match, Coach Mlungisi said graciously, "Let me congratulate Czech Galaxy." So what does he want? Because he congratulated Czech Galaxy. No man, no, this guy wanted to trend. So. And the only way to trend is to talk about the champions. I understand. So far, going so Shangofi.
Thank you.
Hey, Andile. I'm petrified by this racial venom with Kaizer Chiefs. Where does it come from? I think the management must stand up and do something as early as now. Otherwise, things will be out of hand. I never thought Kaizer Chiefs would get that far. Thank you. In the Eastern Cape.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Let's go to the calls now.
This is Wheelchair speaking from Tembisa. I'm not happy about the comment what they're saying SuperSport is selling only for Sundowns. Because of SuperSport, whatever amounts they put on the table, Sundowns take it or double the price that come with SuperSport. When last Kaizer Chiefs signed a player like 20 million, 15 million? When last happened? Or Orlando Pirates? Which one? The past 15 years, it's never been happening.
How much was Dupree?
I think 12, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, Dupree was an expensive player.
And then the defender Ukwinika was 3, so it was 15.
Ox couldn't have been cheap.
If I can maybe defend the caller there, I don't think what he's saying is the competition for certain players.
No, for sure. You can't compete.
I think that's the thing. I think that's more than
if
anything.
Sundowns want the player, they're going to get the player.
Yeah. And our Chiefs doing enough to compete. And that's what I...
Can you?
I don't know. That's
if
the
Sundowns
thing.
decide they want Mayo, Chiefs need Mayo. We know that.
Yeah.
Maybe even Pirates need maybe not say Mayo, but a Mayo.
Yes.
And Mayo is the best available right now, looking at the goals scored. Yeah. If Sundowns also decide they want him, I don't think they can compete.
Now that's the problem I have. And unless that changes, the status quo won't change. The way things are, it's going to stay that way.
Yeah, man.
I was
if I was a player, if they had a radio station, I'd be there. That's what I'm saying.
I was extremely disappointed, and I'll say this, when Sipho Mbule went the other way. I promise you.
Where would you have liked to see him?
No, I'm saying, for the league to be competitive, I would have loved for him to go to a Kaizer Chiefs.
All right, let's go to Lisibe. Lisibe is in Egurlane. Lisibe. All right, Dixon. I think it's Dixon that's there. Dixon, hi.
Hi, Andile.
Hey, man, go for it.
No one cares, Andile. No one cares.
About?
No one cares that Sundowns has played 8 consecutive opening league games. All of them are wins, and they've broken the Kaizer Chiefs record. No one cares, Andile. And no one cares, Andile, that Rulani is putting the hard work in his job. They're only speaking about Sundowns having money. No one cares. Do you think money can score the set piece that they score on Wednesday?
Oh,
is that money?
That Ribeiro goal.
Money?
I spoke about it the next day.
Money?
You heard me, yeah?
Is that money?
I mean, that's a good question.
Yeah, I'm not Dixon.
No.
Dixon is strong out there.
No, Dixon,
I
I
agree.
think you
Fully
made a good
agree.
play. No, Dixon, please give him a round of applause.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That free kick.
Hi, top of it. Sounds like discuss. Yeah, wait.
Hi, let's go to Bonkosi. He's out in Dobsonville. Bonkosi. No, we're good, man. Go straight into it.
Coach ukhala nge-Sundowns. uRulani is a hard worker, that guy. Andiqondi ukunayo intombazane ayonantsika
yini ufuna ukumnikeza
andiqondi uyafana ngeke benale xesha lakhe. Andiqondi leyawuthi leyana icinga nge-Sundowns iqala into ecingayo yona. I-Sundowns yabona njengoba i-Sundowns ingekho i-2 months yonke, but ibizolusa nje iloko ihambile futhi ise-Afrika
Bezolungisa.
nje.
Bonkosi is in Dobsonville. I appreciate you, Bonkosi. Peter is out in Brits. Peter.
Yeah, Andy, look there.
Hey, no, always good, man. Talk to me.
Yeah, man, I want to go straight to the issue of Kaizer Chiefs. Especially that one of Itumeleng Khune. First question, if Mkonda is still there. At Kaizer Chiefs, they said Khune arrived at training under influence of alcohol. So my question is, at Kaizer Chiefs, did you have the breathalyzers to check if the player is under?
He was breathalyzed, yes.
He was, then he was found that he was under influence of alcohol.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to go to that issue of discrimination at Kaizer Chiefs.
Yeah.
According to my understanding, there is no such. Because I can give you an scenario now. If I go now to Devon and for a week, then I get a job in Devon. Then if I come across 3 people from Limpopo, so these people that I found there, they must be my friends. Always when I'm at work, I must be able to talk to these people. Everything that I must do, I must.
So when moya ngobatla batswang Limpopo ubloma lebo.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is.
Yeah. All right, Peter, out in Brits. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Sibongeleni usematafeni. Sibongeleni.
Onjani ma?
I know. Gumqamane, talk to me.
I just got only one player to declare the 10 supporters kule weekend starting from tomorrow at Kings Stadium. I'm letting them to come in numbers, and on Sunday at Moses Mabhida Stadium to also come in numbers. We want to see a KZN Derby final this time around.
So they must go to the stadium, support KZN teams because you want to see a KZN derby.
Most definitely, once in a lifetime. I think we have not had this opportunity to play the final as the KZN team in a season. So I think this is the great opportunity for both teams, Richard Bay, Namazulu, Wuti.
All right, Timmy there doesn't like you there, Spongelin. Lesibe.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, man. When you know, I don't need to tell you. Go for it.
No, and good evening to Majida. You know what? I agree with Nadim as usual. This Sundown Super Sport, it needs to be investigated. Mark my words. Today's the 1st of December. That Chandra boy, the left winger, will end Lorcop.
And how old is he now? He's still in high school.
He just finished. He just matriculated. He's 18 years old.
He's 18. I mean, what a player.
Yeah.
So you see him going to Sundowns?
Most definitely. I'll archive this call. I'll receive it in due course.
So he's the next one to be promoted.
He's the next one to be promoted.
Yeah, but in a professional environment, this is not right, guys.
PRO.
Imagine players from Manchester United going to Manchester City.
Pro. Pro's gone. We're going to get out of here. Thanks so much for being a part of the show, guys. Mark, we've got 10 seconds for you. Any last words?
No, I'm good. I'm looking forward to some Top Cup finals, and then also we on the continent. So SuperSport, Khune, as well as Sundowns, they're going to be representing us. So let them bring the fire.
So many live matches on the SABC. When it comes to CAF matches as well, across CAF competitions, you can always come to us. But also, we're giving you both the semi-finals.
Akusasa mina nawe silephula Richards Bay neStellenbosch. Abantu abayibukele SABC 1.
For myself, Andile Ncube, my entire team, these Fridays are something special. And I know so because every day when I bump into you, you tell me so. Lemapara, we appreciate you. Pela Pela, Nganzomi.